I was walking down 34th Street in New York, and I hear somebody say, "Yeah, yeah," and I'm like, I'm not responding to that shit. So I keep walking down the street, and this guy's like, "Ma'am, excuse me." So I whip my head around like, "Yes." He's like, "Whoa, you don't have to look at me like that. I'm just trying to get your attention for this young man over here." So then I turn around, I'm like, "Who is it?" And I turn around and I see this guy that's like 6'3", light brown with hazel eyes. And I was like, "Ooh, okay, who is this?" Now, from afar, I thought he had waves in his hair, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm making a bitch seasick, with the waves going on. But as I get close, I realize that it's a different kind of concoction on his head. I realize it's some wild shit going on up there, okay? Because what I noticed after being with him for a little while, he used to perm his hair, put gel on his hair, and then take a fine tooth comb and swirl it around his head and like make waves. Took him hours to do this. Tevin had two different places that he lived. The first place was in Harlem. Okay. That's where his mom lived. The other place was with his best friend and his best friend's mom in the Bronx. I've been to the Bronx before, but this was just like a whole new world. So I get to the door. He opens the door and I hear like music blasting, but I don't see anybody. So I'm walking in like, oh shit, what is this? Out of nowhere, this woman comes around the corner and she's rapping to the music. I just looked to the side like, what the like, it was crazy. And she's like this little woman, maybe like 5'5", 5'6", really skinny, dark skin with these small braids in her hair. Kind of reminds me of like Coolio back in the early 90s. Well, her hair did. So, Tevin did not give me any forewarnings before going into this apartment. But once we got in his room, he did say, "Okay, I know you're here. You're going to spend the night. I'm letting you know right now that once the darkness hits, we got to lock the door and hide your money and your valuables." I'm like, what the hell? Like a werewolf coming out or something? It's like Vampire in Brooklyn. I'm like, wait a minute. What you mean when darkness falls? Buffy the Vampire Slayer coming out? What's going on? I'm thinking it's about to be thrilling, this like, I don't know what's happening. I was a little nervous. So, I locked the door. And I remember in the middle of the night seeing the door kind of jiggle. And it was 3 locks on this door, okay? It was like one lock with, like the little knob where you can turn it and lock it. And then it was a lock above it that had a chain to it. And then the third lock was like a padlock. The next morning, I asked Tevin what was going on. Why was the door shaking at 3 a.m.? And he looked at me really serious and he was like, "Remember when I told you when it gets dark that we have to lock all the doors and you have to hide your money and your valuables?" I said, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, that's Cookie." I was like, "What?" Like, what the hell? Did she turn into somebody else or something? Like, I don't understand what's going on. He was like, "Look, Cookie is nice. Like, she lets me stay here, but she will steal your shit. So you gotta lock it up." I'm like, "Well, why would she steal my stuff? Like, I don't understand why she's just stealing things." He was like, "Look, just listen to what I say and don't ask no questions." After a few visits of going back and forth to New York, Cookie and I kind of developed a relationship. I remember being in her room sitting there and I'm telling her about Tevin and how he's lying and he's cheating. She's sitting there listening. The TV's on. She's sitting on like the right side of the bed. I'm sitting on the left side and I'm just, talking, going through my story. Out of nowhere, in the middle of my conversation, I see her pull out this clear pipe from out of her pocket and she begins to light it. And I'm looking out the corner of my eye like, what is that? And in my head, it immediately goes to Chris Rock in New Jack City when he's sitting on the edge of the bed, sweating really hard, smoking crack. Like, it keeps calling me, man. So that's what I'm sitting here thinking in my head. I'm like, nigga, is that a crack pipe? What is happening? Oh my God. Oh my God. We're going to jail. We're going to jail. I'm going to have some inmate named Santiago. This is going to go all bad. Like, I'm nervous as fuck. I'm like, is she going to kill me? Is she going to kill me with the crack pipe and then smoke it? Like, I don't know what's happening. I was scared as shit. And so the only thing I could think of, I was like, I gotta end this conversation. I gotta end this conversation and I got to get out of here. So as I'm sitting here thinking that I have to end this conversation, I'm starting to put 2 and 2 together, okay? 2 and 2 is starting to equal 4. I'm sitting here like, oh, okay. This is why the door is shaking in the middle of the night. Because she's a drug addict and she's trying to steal my money to buy some crack. That shit had me gone. I'm sitting here realizing like this whole time I've been traveling 14 hours in a Nissan Sentra to chill in a trap house. I was living in a real live trap house. I just left. I ran. I hit that door and then I called Tevin in the room. I locked the door. I put the padlock on. And the chains. I even put a towel under the door, okay? Because I didn't want her to break in there somehow. I didn't know she was going to have some super strength and bust through the door. I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm calling Tevin and I'm whispering, but like a loud whisper. I'm like, Tevin, do you know that Cookie is on crack? He's like, yeah. I was like, what the what is going on? So you had me in here in the trap house? This is why she was opening the door and you're telling me when it gets dark outside, not open the door and hide my valuables? Why did you tell me? He's like, look. That's the only way that I can sit here and stay in New York. It's a clean apartment for cheap. I'm like, this nigga's gotta be kidding me. This nigga has me real live in the trap house. And, I would love to say that happened and I was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this. But the reality is we were on and off for 6 years. So, ladies, get yourself some self-esteem. That's all I have to say. Hey guys, if you liked the video, please subscribe, comment, like, but most importantly, share. Thank you so much for your support.